Rock and roll lovers, we've got you covered. Literary Rose here with I Dream of Indie to offer my review of Loud on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, yeah.
Loud is a single-player, arcade-style rhythm game developed and published by Hyperstrange and QubicGames. You follow the musical adventures of Astrid, who begins her rock-loving journey with just a broomstick and dreams. But as you grow up with her, you see her grow into a talented young woman on the cusp of breaking into the music industry. The story is not particularly revolutionary, and for me at times just a touch cringe, but I imagine it's cute and relatable to a younger audience. Your mileage may vary. The gameplay consists of timing button presses with the on-screen prompts and following the beat of the song, though this may vary depending on your ear for music. This kind of gameplay is standard for almost all rhythm games, but Loud offers a challenging twist in the number of keys you need to hit and their directionality on the screen. You have 6 different keys that surround the sides of your character at varying angles, with the left side controlled by the directional buttons on the left Joy-Con, and the right side controlled by the A, B, X, Y buttons on the right Joy-Con. Along with these buttons, you wiggle the left and right stick around when holding long notes for points and, of course, style. And off you go. Except I didn't find it that simple or easy, of no fault of the game. I considered myself a veteran of rhythm games, but Loud made me realize that while I had experience with dance and pop-like beats, my brain struggled to follow the beats of these rock songs. On top of my paltry experience with this musical genre, the controls took what was left of my brain and scrambled it further. I don't know why I struggled so hard, but I just couldn't imprint the muscle memory of what buttons were for what prompts on the screen. My most common error was mixing up the middle and bottom buttons, and once I messed it up, it was all over. Something about switching directions and switching controller sides made my brain reset multiple times, to the point that I had to swallow my pride and I brought the difficulty down to easy. It was either that or rage, and I don't need the blood pressure hike, thank you very much. On top of the potentially brain-puzzling controls, Loud punishes you for extra presses even if you hit the right ones, which I did often, especially when I was trying to use my Pro controller, because the left side directional pad for the left key presses seems to be super sensitive. It might just be my controller, but even when I was sure I pressed one direction, not the other, the directional pad would register 2 key presses and Loud said, "No, bad player. Shame!" If you've ever played a rhythm game before, most notably the Guitar Hero and Rock Band variants, you will recognize this gameplay style immediately. There are short notes you tap, long notes you hold, and a special mash note where you mash. And also some in-between tempo notes that are designed, I believe, to catch you off guard. Outside of this, it's up to you to follow the rhythm of the song and the patterns of the notes on the screen. I consider this to be a surprisingly tough rhythm game on the skilled or medium difficulty, but as I mentioned before, I'm open to it being my lack of experience with the rock genre. However, I would say that the first few songs are challenging to follow because they seem designed to be mediocre? I don't know a soft way to say that. Okay, first let's back up. Remember the cute story of Astrid growing up into a musical star? Well, it turns out those growing pains aren't just reflected in the cutscenes in between songs. Her songs also reflect that, as they evolve as she grows older, becoming more complex and engaging as she gets more experience. So while I wasn't a fan of the earlier songs that she played at the subway station as she was making it out there, her final songs in a garage and later a paid gig at a local pub were awesome. Finally, once you've beat the story mode, there's a free play mode that's accessible, and it has all 14 songs from the main game, plus a bonus super hard song. So if you want to get good, you can mess around in the free play. A major piece of criticism I will levy at Loud is the length of the game. I was done within a little over an hour, and it probably would have been less if I hadn't been trying to tough it out in the medium difficulty. Since this is an indie game, I prefer to be charitable and understanding with the limitations indie games face, but still, I think a little more content, some more songs would have made this game an easier sell. And going back to my earlier point about song quality, while I understand thematically the reason Astrid begins with simpler songs, it didn't really inspire me to keep playing. In fact, I was worried I wasn't going to like this game after so many meh songs, but I must say Loud really pulled it through in that final act. If I were to sum up the song's variants, we can start off with slower, rock-ish to alternative pieces before graduating into some proper, hard-hitting, guitar-strumming, drum-hitting beats. Can you tell this is not my preferred genre? Send me all the sad club music and I'm ready. But throw some guitar riffs and my musical intelligence facade crumbles. Besides the songs themselves, we have interjections from the girl herself as you play, shouts of delight as you shred it on the guitar, or cries of dismay when you make mistakes. It's always so jarring and tempo breaking when you make mistakes in these games, since it freezes and your character's like, ah! Which I have a love-hate relationship, but I get why it exists. Loud played, hehehe, excellent on the Switch. Regardless of my issues with the controls, the Joy-Cons felt perfect for the gameplay, and they really thought it out. I did try this handheld, but it was not a good experience. This title, in my opinion, is meant to be played on a big screen, preferably with the volume blasting. The settings are fairly robust. You can calibrate your controls at any time, turn vibration and camera motion on and off, turn highlight tracks on and off, adjust all of the volumes from voice to character shouts to ambiance, get a detailed breakdown of the control scheme for both Joy-Cons and a Pro Controller, switch your save slots, and reset the settings. Finally, the visuals are a lovely mix of 2D and 3D graphics, with hand-drawn art for the cutscenes and 3D models for the jam sessions. And by 3D models, I mean Astrid. So you get to switch around Astrid's style. She goes through various phases through her adolescence in both clothing and hair. It was a very cute addition that helped further accentuate the building roman of the narrative. So what are my final thoughts? Loud is a good rhythm game with a lot of charm and interesting to challenging controls, but perhaps a bit short for the asking price and maybe lacking in especially engaging songs. If Loud speaks, or rather shouts to you, then I encourage you to get this well-made game.
Thank you so much for supporting clickbait-free content here at I Dream of Indie. We would now like to take a moment to shout out our brave indie warriors and legends that help to support this channel through channel memberships. At the Indie Warriors tier, we have Bill, Adriana Amato, CJR, Julian Kolbis, Jesse, Ray Lynn, Marky Mint, Dave Hart, Peekaboo, Lex Noyle, Christian Cruz, PSC, Solaru C, and Chic Geek. At the Indie Legends tier, we have Nathan Moore, Skeptism, Mitchell Hall, Jen Rose, Chris Jackson, Mr. W, Blue Francis 14, The Beefarinis, Business Cody, Chiron, Jace Glover, King of the Hatch, Ophidian Mind, Lord Metroid, C. Coil, and Larkison. Thank you so much for all that you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Everybody else, head down to the description box below. Let's defeat the gaming echo chamber and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.